Hi, I am Tyler, and this is my communication video. I was trying to figure out the best way to do this, and I honestly I didn't like myself on using, the laptop camera, and I found my phone was a little bit easier because honestly, how I communicate is just I, speaking into a phone. I do it all the time when I do my podcast and I have my microphone plugged into my phone, or I just have my phone set up if I don't have my microphone with me. So just speaking into that makes it a lot easier. I don't know why. So hopefully you guys are able to stay with me. But yeah, we're gonna make it fun here. Hopefully, I use for my communication a lot of props. Why? Because I think each thing reflects my personality. Maybe a little too much, just a little. Oh well. But either way, let's get into it. So how I use communication in like my social media and that kind of stuff is I constantly am updating different types of pages. I run Instagrams, Facebook, Snapchat, just about everything you can imagine. Why? Because I use it to communicate with friends. I use it to run gaming nights for groups. I also run a local group that collects Funkos. As I said, I have a lot of props, so and wallpaper. I see that's a wallpaper right now. But using the social media, I'm able to outreach with people I wouldn't be able to normally because I don't see them every day. And also, a lot of my friendships and relationships have formed through social media. I know there's a lot of downsides to social media. It's not everyone has a strong media literacy these days, but when used correctly, I think social media has a lot of great benefits in variations. Don't use it overuse. I feel like I overuse it, but then again, when I don't have it, I'm very okay with that. I'm actually enjoy the moments I don't have my internet, but at the same time, I use it a lot to, like I said, I run groups, I run local chats, so it's a double-sided sword on the social media there. But all the different platforming from podcasting to YouTube to TikTok, like I said, organizing different things. Yeah, that's just social media is everywhere. With my cultural communication, I tend to notice that with being born in England, moved around a lot growing up. Lived on the East Coast, lived on the West Coast, lived in different parts of Europe. My accent's been totally just botched. So sometimes people have a hard time understanding where I'm from and, understanding when I speak to them what I'm saying clearly. And so I have to really think about what I say sometimes, even try to make sure I'm saying it correctly. I do know on my mom's side I'm Hispanic, and so I get a lot of people always come up to me asking me to talk Spanish to them. I know a little bit. I can read it better than I can speak it, but I am constantly trying to. I think it's really important for people to be able to at least try. Because put yourself in their shoes. If you were to go to another country where they didn't speak English, you would be so thankful for the one person who takes their time to try to communicate with you. Even if they didn't speak any English, the fact that they would try to communicate with you. So I always try to give that back when I communicate with people these days. I think it's very important. I think it's something to be empathetic about. When it comes to presenting and disclosing myself, I tend to, as you can see, I let people know very early on that I'm a bit of a geek. Again, too many props. I don't know why. It's what I do, I guess. But a lot of times it's very, I don't want to say on the surface, but it's not always disclosing who I am. I a lot of times will show, I will use physical objects as well as, I watch a lot of films, sometimes using music or film references to kind of relate who I am. In chat communication, I actually really love using GIFs a lot of times to reflect my personality and who I am when I'm communicating with people, just because sometimes it's hard to say something. I don't mean to. It's just that everyone comes from a different background. Everyone was raised differently. Everyone has different views and norms in their life. And so not fully knowing how you might say something will come across to someone can be very powerful sometimes. And so using, I know I say it's important for that, and I use like generic things, but it's just, sometimes that helps. Sometimes a picture can speak more than just me, what I can say. I've noticed that it's kind of confusing, but it's just it's part of who I am. It's part of how I uh use life around me to communicate. Whether it's, like I said, using a film reference, whether it's using music from a CD, whether it's using Funkos, yeah, everything, way too much. I mean, how do I view others? I tend to organize my thoughts with people. I have so many different groups and different friend cliques that whether it's my work friends, whether it's my gaming friends, whether it's my Funko friends, I tend to organize them into groups to kind of help me, keep them separate. I used to try to like intertwine them, but I realized that's just different parts of my personality. And so since I have a hard time putting all my personality into one spot, it's easy just to like, okay, my personality over here can be with the Funko people. My personality over here can be with my gaming group. My personality at work can be with those guys. So just different parts of my personality works better with different groups of friends. And so I noticed I tend to organize that. I also am very empathetic, as I said earlier, to people. So I tend to feel like being empathetic to someone is kind of how you have to be these days, because how can you really understand what someone's going through? How can you really understand, what life events that people have had to deal with? And the answer is you don't. You'll never know. But trying to learn how to be empathetic, trying to figure out how someone might feel, is a very useful tool I've noticed in communicating. When I've had to deal with friends, when I've had to deal with coworkers, when I've had to deal with customers, just everyday people, being able to try to put yourself in their shoes really can be a powerful tool. And I think it really can say a lot of things about someone when they're able to do that. My language, I like to think that I'm pretty open-minded, pretty progressive, in a lot of ways, where I think you're always learning. I don't think anyone ever is done learning. If you say you are, then you're clearly not. But I do, all the time I'm having friends that want to change ideas to make things sound more progressive. So, change I guess in the past I've considered myself a little bit of a feminist. So I am all about trying to find more equal ways to represent people. I think sometimes I feel personally sometimes that it can be a little overreached. However, that's just my personal views. That's nothing from any, aspects of life that are being drawn from. That's just how I feel. But either way, I'm usually with my friends. I'm very supportive. I have friends who, I have bi friends. I have friends who have transitioned. And so I try to always, when they tell me, hey, I'm no longer Cara, I want to be Carl. Okay, I make sure that I adjust how I speak to them, and I adjust how I communicate. So I make sure that I'm being respectful to how they want to be communicated to, because I get it. Self-identity is very important, and sometimes we can be lost without it. And so, it takes a long time for us to find our own self-identity. So then it's going to take even longer for others to find it. And so even myself, I don't fully, I think I have a lot of self-identity, but I know that I still have a long ways to go to feel I fully can express who I am and what I, how I am in life. But these things, obviously I'm a geek, as you can tell, and that's a big part of my life. And it definitely is something that helps with my self-identity. So I think being able to understand the meaning behind words, understanding why words can mean different things to different people, can be important, because you might view one way and say, this is how it is. I don't understand why you want to say it that way. Well, because it might mean something different to them. And so being able to be adaptable is very important and unique, I think, in communicating. Otherwise, it gets a bit crazy. My nonverbal, with my testing, the test in the book, I barely scored above average on the nonverbal. I don't know. As I'm talking to you, I'm using my hands and gestures, and I'm doing a lot of pacing and walking around. Why? Because I find it really useful. However, I'm also talking alone in my apartment to a phone. So when I talk to people in person, I don't tend to feel like I use my hands a lot. I do make a lot of eye contact to try to reassure them that I am listening to them. I do try to, when they're talking to me, I tend to try to make sure that I'm communicating back, replying, answering to them, so they know that I'm not ignoring them and giving them that full attention that they need. So, and as I said, also, I use a lot of GIFs and use a lot of props. Those are other like nonverbal, photos and that kind of stuff to help communicate, my emotions, how I'm feeling that day, or what I'm trying to convey. I tend to. Two of my favorite types of GIFs I have friends, I've told them that I'm like, you can find a GIF for any situation with these two characters. Ron Swanson from Parks and Recs, I can use a GIF for him almost all the time. And then Salem Saberhagen from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Again, I feel like there's a GIF for every occasion. So using stuff like that helps me with my nonverbal communication. I think I'm pretty good at reading it, but obviously I have a long ways to go, so I'm not perfect. As I said, with listening, I do try to make sure I'm making eye contact. I keep looking off, and you guys are wondering, why? What is he looking at? Two things. One is I have two baby kittens that are constantly running across my feet trying to trip me because they love to do that. And then I also have my notes, and so, you got to have something to read from. I don't know what you guys are reading from, but I'm reading from this. So whenever I do podcasts, I have usually something written in front of me to help me stay on track, because otherwise I will go on a tangent and I will end up not knowing where I left off and where I'm going. So using notes really helps me with that communication on knowing exactly where I plan on going. How I express my emotions. I tend to notice that I am. Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, going back here. I apologize. Roll that back here. Listen. Apparently I scored really high with my rational and my analytical skills for listening. And basically, it is true. With rational, I do try, when I'm listening to people and communicating, I do want to build that relationship. It doesn't have to be anything super deep, but like when I'm working with coworkers, even if I don't like them, I try to learn a situation that I can communicate with them. If I can find something deeper to connect with them, it makes the work a little bit easier. And also it makes it so you can understand them better. So I am very, very keen on trying to build that relationship internally. And analytical. I do try to hear everyone's story full on before I start judging, because you can't just jump to conclusions. You can't just assume one thing. I've had people that didn't do something in work, and so people are quick to jump on them, like, oh, they're lazy, they don't do this, they don't do that. And it's like, well, maybe no one's ever shown them. So I always try to take that extra step to show them, because if I didn't know something, I would love if someone told me that I was doing it wrong or helping me figure that out. So I guess, yeah, that makes sense that I'd be very analytical with my listening skills. Expressing my emotions, so I scored really high in interpersonal and stress management. And I think that's definitely that makes a lot of sense in my eyes, because with my interpersonal, I do tend to be very self-aware of what I'm thinking, what I'm doing. Sometimes a little too self-aware, because I overthink things a lot. So it's a double-sided sword in that situation, but I do tend to, any type of situation I go into, any type of communication with people, how I look, how I reflect, I'm constantly over trying to figure out the best way to present my communication, whether it's presenting how I need to talk to someone, just like this situation. I sat in front of a laptop and tried to figure out how to record this for days and got nowhere because I never liked anything I said. I never felt like I stuttered too much. I'm probably stuttering here, but hey, I just found out that I really enjoy being able to walk around, because I can show my props. I can show who I am, and it makes it a little more free-flowing. So it makes sense. My interpersonal, I've moved around a lot, so learning how to communicate with people is something I've just always had to do, because if not, then you're by yourself. And when you move around a lot, I was born in England, lived in Germany, lived in DC, lived in Oregon, lived in Idaho, lived in Washington. Far too many state histories. So being able to communicate with people is very important. Stress management, ironically, I feel like I don't do really well stress management because I always have so much stress. However, according to a lot of my friends and family members, because I have so much stress, the fact that I'm able to handle a lot of it, I guess, says a lot about me. I tend to just think that it's just normal life things, so I don't ever really stop to notice it. It's something that I'm working on myself to figure out because I do take on more stress than I probably should. However, I guess I'm functioning. I'm going to school. I'm doing job. I'm working. And then I'm taking care of two insanely adorable kitties. So, I mean, I think I'm doing well with my stress management. I mean, it's just something that I guess I work on. And forming relationships, I tend to, I would say one big thing is proximity. When I have jobs, I try to find friends inside my job. Most of my closest friends came through work, so and some of them are from past jobs that I've just kept over the years because we worked right next to each other all the time, and it kind of worked out with you. So proximity is a huge thing with me, as well as rewards. It sounds bad, but a lot of times I view relationships as a reward because, in a sense, that I could stay home and play video games, play with the kitties, watch movies, and never go out. But then I'm missing out. There's aspects of life that I'm gonna miss out on. There's ways I didn't view things. There's culture things that I wouldn't experience, and so I feel every relationship is a reward. I think if someone isn't adding to your life, then why are they in it? Because that's just how I view it. I straight up, if someone's not adding to my life, if they're just taking from it, I don't have time for that. I do view relationships as very much rewards. It doesn't, I mean, I won't hate them if they work at a movie theater and give me free movie tickets or work at a coffee shop and give me discounts. But hey, that's another story. But also I am very, complimentary with when I try to find people and build relationships. I don't mean to, but I do notice that a lot of times I find people that just share one common interest and then the rest is completely different. My closest friends are very different than me. We might share maybe one aspect like gaming, but then I am very extrovert compared to my super, super introverted friends. And so I have introvert moments where I love to just stay in and be by myself. But at the same time, I'm the guy who's messaging people like, hey, you guys want to hang out this weekend? You guys want to go do something? And so I noticed that that's just, I don't know. I think when I find those connections with people that compliment me, that like essentially compliment, but they're able to sometimes help me know how I should present myself. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little too off the wall, a little too out, a little too out there. These people kind of help me ground me, help me see a better way to focus, better way to understand situations. So I find that very important. Conflict management. I'm very accommodating. I tend to do a little too much more than I like, but I always try to make people happy. It's just, I'm a people pleaser. Don't know why, but apparently I like to do that. Competition. I really do find it, fun to I don't know, to be the best of stuff. If someone tells me I can't do something, that I'll never be able to do something, for some reason my stubbornness is very eager to tell them, no, I can do something. So competition is very somehow a way to deal with my conflicts. Other than that, I would say collaboration. Surprisingly, avoidance is my least, which I always feel like I am avoiding more than I should. But I do think there are situations where avoidance is probably very, very important and useful. But I come from a family who gets in your face when they're really upset. Their conflict management is in your face screaming. My ex's family was very much like, don't talk about it, avoid it, and shove it under the rug, pretend it never existed. So trying to find that healthy middle has been a very big part of my life, trying to find that, because I don't feel like I should be getting in your face, but at the same time, I don't feel like we should be just not acknowledging it. So learning to do that is very, very important to me. Other than that, I mean, I think interpersonal communication theory, I don't have a good one in mind. Basically, when it comes to communicating, I tend to be very compassionate, very empathetic. I tend to use a lot of crops a lot of things to help present what I'm trying to say. Sometimes a little too much, sometimes over the top, sometimes, I don't know, it just helps. But that's kind of my communication. I've had a fun semester with you guys. I'm sad that we didn't actually get to actually hang out or do anything because obviously, you know, COVID does stuff. Great. Hopefully, COVID lifts soon and we can all start doing some fun stuff and things will get better for everyone. I enjoyed this semester. I enjoyed this class. I enjoyed the projects we worked on. Hopefully, I get to see some of you with other projects in the future. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Have a great one, and I guess have a good Christmas or holidays or New Year's, whatever you guys want to celebrate. Have a good one. Take care, guys.